Greetings YouTube, Skill Incarnate bringing you all the latest indie gaming goodness. Welcome to another look at an early access game. Today we're going to be checking out the game Orc Island. Now I don't know the development name of the developer, I only have their actual name, and I don't wish to dox them. So if you want any more information on this game, I'm going to be leaving the link to the website in the description. And I do recommend you go and check this out if you're a fan of early access games or survival games in general. Now, in Orc Island, you are the survivor of a shipwreck or an event which has led you to become stranded on this island. And your goal, as with many other survival games, is simply to try and survive as long as you can and to battle the inhabitants of the island, who are bloodthirsty orcs. Now, similar to a lot of other survival games, they will come every night and they'll attack you. And your goal is to simply try and drive them away and to survive, to build a base and to thrive. Now, this game, as I said, very early access at the moment. There's still quite a lot of work which needs to be done. But from the little I have played of this game so far, I've actually had quite an enjoyable experience. Now, this game does a lot of things quite well, and hopefully I'll be able to see the game in a more finished state in the future. But for the moment, with this early access view or the tech demo for the game, you have the one island. It's unfortunately not procedurally generated. I hope that in future the developer will include procedurally generated islands for the game. And even different biomes would be a really nice idea to have. But yeah, this island, unfortunately, very static at the moment. But it certainly gives you a good glimpse of what the game is going to be like. Now, there are a number of different items in the game. There's a number of different areas of the island with different resources. But your simple goal is to try and find somewhere that you can defend when nightfall comes, when the orcs come and they'll come and attack you. But yeah, the simple aim of this game is just to survive. And I found a lot of things that I enjoyed about the game, but I also found quite a lot of bugs. But that's to be expected with a game at this stage of development. So what do I like about this game? Well, it's simply the Minecraft style feel. The graphics, they have a very retro feel about them. I like the way the game looks. It's definitely I am biased towards Minecraft. I do play a little bit. It's one of my guilty pleasures. And this game definitely is going for the Minecraft vibe. But I don't feel it's a direct rip-off of Minecraft. There's actually a few clever little ideas that the game puts in there. And I'll show you those, a few of those later on. But for now, what we're doing is we're just gathering as many resources as we can. This game, despite its rather peaceful feel at the moment, is deceptively difficult. It's actually deceptively difficult. It's actually a hard game to survive in. The orc enemies in the game are very difficult and can kill you quite quickly. So you don't want to be left off guard at night. The same as many other survival games which you may have played. So our goal at the moment is just to try and grab as many resources as we can. I'm gathering a lot of wood at the moment. And then I'm going to make another stop to pick up our friend Gronk. Now Gronk is a golem. I believe he's over here. There he is. Now this little guy is actually a really good companion to have, and considering this game was a very small development team, I believe just one developer, they've actually made a survival game with an NPC that's relatively functional. So that's a really, for those who played a lot of other survival games like Project Zomboid and 7 Days to Die, NPCs are not something they've managed to add successfully in the game. So this little tiny game's actually managed to do it. So that's quite impressive in my eyes. We're going to head over to the other side of the island And once I've gathered the last thing that we need on our list, which is iron, we're going to have a crack at setting up a base and getting ready for our first night. Now, there are a number of ways to gather food in this game, and they include fishing. You can craft yourself a fishing rod and fish for some of the fish around the island in these lakes. And you can also grow food. The farm is a lot more reliable food source, but it's also pretty difficult to defend. There are some chickens and birds, and many of the island's inhabitants will come in and try and eat all your crops. And that's where our friend Gronk comes in. He's going to help us defend our home from unwanted intruders. Unfortunately, he won't help with the orcs, so we will have to fight those guys off ourselves. So we're going to come over here, and in the mountains we'll find the last thing that we need, and that's going to be iron. Now, while we search for the iron, I've said what I like about this game. And this game is a lot of fun. It's very, despite its difficulty curve, it's actually a really good game for kids. It's not very violent. It's pretty easy to pick up, at least the basic mechanics of the game. But there are some problems, and I'd be remiss not to mention these. The first one is, of course, the sound. Now, the sound is a bit jarring, as you can hear me digging away for items. You have to click on the items multiple times, and this game almost felt like a cow clicker sometimes. And I understand it wants to simulate you gathering resources with your bare hands, but yeah, it seems a bit excessive at this point. As you can see, it will take several clicks to gather a piece of metal. And you can get tools like pickaxes and so forth, but it just felt excessive. I felt myself getting carpal tunnel syndrome, just clicking all the time, as I'm actually feeling a bit now. So I would love to see the developer refine on this. One idea I would have would be to have a progress bar, maybe hold down the mouse when you're gathering materials rather than repeatedly clicking on the area that you want to harvest. It would certainly save my wrist. But yeah, that's probably one of the main problems. The other thing is the sound. So you can probably hear the sound at the moment. It's rather jarring. The sound of gathering materials especially, extremely loud, unnecessarily loud at the moment. I'd love to see the developer do a little bit of work and make that a little bit easier on the ears. Another problem is with some of the graphics. So this game's graphics overall aren't too bad, but certain textures in the game are very, very jarring on the eyes. The example is the grass texture, which I'll show you in a moment, but we had to finish grabbing all of this rock here because we're going to need it to craft our fire. Alright, so I think we've got enough. Now, as you can see, the grass texture in the game, very, very hard on the eyes. It almost looks staticky. But again, all of these things are easily fixable. I would probably suggest to first work on the sound. Now, we've gathered everything we need, and hopefully we'll be able to set up a base. We're going to set up down here, far away from where the chickens and other predators are, hopefully the birds as well. And hopefully we will be able to get a base going in time for nightfall. So hopefully we'll have that ready to go, and I'll join you then. And here you can see I've made just a very small base using the wood that we picked up earlier in the game. I've plopped down some wood blocks here, and there are many different building materials you can use. But unfortunately I was stuck with wood, and I'm going to explain why. Now, most of the ores that you get in the game, as you recall, we picked up quite a lot of iron on our way here. And the reason for that was to get some materials to build some of these items here, such as the saw bench, the anvil, cooking pot, particularly the cooking pot. But as you can see, we need iron for that. And one of the problems in the game is that for some reason when you pick up iron, it records it as tin. And I know this because if I go to the inventory, we can see we have 18 tin. We're actually supposed to have 18 iron. And it's actually listed in the game as iron, so I'm fairly certain that's a bug in the game. So this, unfortunately, at this point blocks me from being able to make a cooking pot, a anvil, and a lot of the tools and weapons that I need. So I did go back and have a look at some of the developer tutorials, and you are supposed to find iron on the map. I haven't found any after a lot of digging, so hopefully that's a problem that gets fixed. I wanted to briefly mention some of the other issues too. At the moment, walls really aren't much of a deterrent against enemies. As you can see, both Gronk and the chickens and many other enemies can walk straight through these walls. Now, I understand that these aren't proper wooden planks, but if I stack up wood in such a way, it should become some sort of barrier. Unfortunately, enemies can just jump straight through walls right over the top of them. And unfortunately, that also includes the orcs. So that means that I'm going to have a pretty bad time of a night until I can work out how to properly build a defense. Now, we did manage to build ourselves a fire. Whoops. And one of the problems in the game too is that when you actually drop if you pick up a fire by clicking on it, you'll actually lose that fire forever. So you have to actually build another one. We can add more wood to the fire, as you can see here, by right-clicking on it. And we can cook food by having the food selected and right-clicking on the fire. And you probably want to have the actual food rather than the seeds. So we've got, if we go into our inventory, we've got quite a bit of wheat. By chucking that in the fire, it'll cook it, and we can eat it. Again, if you don't have a fire, you're going to be in a bit of trouble because you can't eat the food in a raw state. Yeah, all food has to be cooked. And again, that's another a minor irk of mine. If you've got tomatoes, I can understand not being able to eat raw wheat, but things like tomatoes and corn should definitely be able to eat without having to prepare first. I think you should get a benefit from preparing food and have a higher bonus to reducing your hunger. But without having a fire, you can't actually eat anything at all. The only things you can eat that are raw are things you'll find on the island. So to actually farm in this game, you can just drop a section of the ground out by knocking it out, and then dropping down the farming block. You can also, if you wish, manually till the land. And you can do that by selecting fertilizer and right-clicking the fertilizer ground. And this is a pretty slow process, as you can see. I actually prefer to just actually select the farming soil, knock the ground out, and pop it in like so. It's not as neat as the other method, but it gets the job done, as you can see. So yeah, there's a couple of issues at the moment. The main issue being that iron ore and copper ore, especially the iron ore, doesn't seem to work at the moment when I pick it up. I picked up quite a large amount of iron and copper in the hills, and neither the iron or copper are showing. I actually restarted the game 3 times, and I've been able to reproduce this bug. So it is quite an annoyance at the moment. The other problem, as you can see with the chickens, it's very annoying that they can just walk straight through your walls. I understand I don't have a roof, but if I actually put a roof on this place, then the crops won't grow due to not having sunlight. So my pet hates at the moment with the game at the moment is that there seems to be, apart from having Gronk, no way to drive the chickens away. Now that might change once we can get our hands on some weapons and some other tools, but I'm kind of blocked at the moment from building almost everything by the problem with the iron ore. So yeah, there's still quite a few bugs to this game, but I don't want to give the impression that I think this game is bad at this stage. Actually, far from it. I've actually enjoyed what I've had so far. For a tech demo, for an alpha, it's actually been quite a fun ride. And hopefully I would like to return to this game because I want to give it a fair shake to show you some of the more advanced crafting. Once we work out some of the kinks in the game, like being able to collect iron and being able to have walls which enemies can't walk through, that would be a really good start to having an actual working base and showing you some of the more advanced things in the game. But at the moment, I'm going to leave it here because I think that this game needs a little bit more work before I can do a proper review of the game. But my overall verdict is to keep an eye on this one. It's got a few bugs, but for an early access game by a very small developer, I've seen far, far worse. And you only had to look at some of my reviews to see evidence of that. This developer, very passionate, very committed to making this game, wanting a lot of feedback, which a lot of us are happy to give, because he's been very, very respectful and very agreeable compared to some other developers who I've given feedback to. So definitely go and check this game out. There's no reason not to. I'm going to give this game a little bit longer and hopefully return to this in a few months. And hopefully the developer, if he does watch this video and fixes some of these bugs, this could be the start of a very, very good game. And hopefully one that we'll see on Steam in the future. So as always, if you enjoyed this video, please leave me a like, leave me a comment. Always happy to hear feedback. Leave me a subscription, and again, I will leave a link to this game in the video description if you want to go and check it out. Hopefully you do, and we'll see you for the next video. Until next time, Skill Incarnate out.